Investigating poltergeist activity. In this video we will cover the effects of poltergeist activity, theories and investigation technique. The word poltergeist is German for noisy spirit, and this particular phenomenon has been recorded for many years. We find that the term poltergeist is a compound of the German verb polter, to make noise, and the noun geist, a ghost. Poltergeist activity is probably the most destructive and terrifying of all paranormal activity. A British paranormal investigator didn't hold back his objectives. He stated that poltergeists can be cruel and spiteful. He also stated ghosts seem to haunt where poltergeists infest. There is a possibility that the haunting phenomenon and the poltergeist phenomenon may not be related. However, there does not seem to be enough scientific evidence for such a theory. Some scientific establishments refer to poltergeist activities as being caused by a suppression of sexual energy, which is often found in adolescents. Poltergeists are known to have attempted communication audibly or by writing, even though most messages are malicious. The most common question is, do these incidents occur from a single entity or from within the witnesses themselves? Children have been attacked or maimed by unseen forces and also injured by flying projectiles. Houses have been plagued with a constant pelting of small rocks and stones. Formings are also known to have occurred during this type of activity, such as water, oil, tar, and even on the odd occasion, blood. Most hauntings refer to haunted places. Poltergeists have been described as haunted people. The extraordinary and often destructive action of poltergeists is usually attributed to one person around whom the phenomenon focuses. This has given rise to the theory that poltergeists are either internally generated by people in a state of stress, or that external discarnate entities are able to latch on to one particular person through whom they can act. By its nature, poltergeist activity is probably the most frequently reported type of haunting, and it is a worldwide phenomenon with cases from the USA, Brazil, England, Germany, France, Scandinavia, Switzerland, Italy, and many more. Poltergeists have been referred to as ghosts, elementals, entities, agencies, secondary personalities, intelligences, power, spirits, imps, and so on. One thing all these share is certain unpleasant characteristics. Whereas the ordinary ghosts are quiet, inoffensive, timid, noiseless, and benevolent, the poltergeist is usually the opposite. There are many different effects of poltergeist activity. They are often mischievous, destructive, noisy, cruel, erratic, thievish, demonstrative, purposeless, cunning, unhelpful, malicious, audacious, teasing, ill-disposed, spiteful, ruthless, and resourceful. In all circumstances, ghosts usually prefer solitude, whereas a poltergeist prefers company. A ghost seeks the half-life, whereas the poltergeist will perform on the sunniest of days. Poltergeist infestations or visitations begin quite inexplicably, run their course, and then cease as mysteriously as they began. An adolescent, more often a girl than a boy, is most invariably present in the affected household, and this young person appears to be the nexus and attraction of the occurrences. Should he or she be moved at the height of strange happenings, the disturbances will sometimes move with the adolescents and reappear wherever he or she goes. It seems likely that there is a psychological basis, but physical objects have undoubtedly moved under conditions which preclude many psychologists' theory, and it may be that an unusual combination of psychological tension, sexual awakening, physical energy, intense but possibly unconscious concentration, and single-mindedness may produce a poltergeist. The one comforting thought is that poltergeist disturbances do not usually last for very long. Poltergeist disturbances do not occur when the young person in the case is enjoying a normal sleep, and so it would appear that the higher centres of the brain are in some way involved. Apparitions are not usually encountered in poltergeist cases, but like everything else there are exceptions. The puzzling thing is how it is possible for a person to be responsible for such destructive activities and yet be totally unaware that he or she is the cause. Psychologist Speary discovered that we literally have two different people living in our heads, and that the person living in the right cerebral hemisphere is not really you. Yet, the disturbed children involved in poltergeist cases are not split patients, like some epileptics, and this, in turn, underlines something that we are all aware of, that we are self-divided and that the other self is inclined to go its own way. This still leaves the question, how does that other self cause objects to fly through the air? If we assume that it is the right brain that is sensitive to various earth fields, then it seems conceivable that the right side of the brain has access to some powerful energy sources, either in the human body or possibly in the earth itself, in which case it could be regarded as a kind of transformer. This still fails to explain how it can produce action at a distance, and we are left to suppose that we are dealing with energy fields at present unknown to science. Scientists more readily accept poltergeist behaviour to be the result of a form of uncontrolled psychonosis, PK, formerly known as telekinesis. TVs, radios and other household appliances can often work on their own, even if not plugged into the mains. In some cases, a form of communication has taken place via the use of such appliances. This is known as the ghost in the machine. Also, household bills can often jump up to huge amounts as the activity affects the electrical meters and readings. Paranormal investigators use a method of classification when it comes to the poltergeist cases. This classification rises as activity increases. Most times, poltergeist activity follows the same pattern, starting at a classification of 1 and then growing until dissipation. Poltergeist activity level 1. Audible disturbances such as banging, knocking, rapping, or other unusual sounds and strange smells or odours, cold areas and plasma effects. Poltergeist activity level 2. Disturbances such as levitation of objects, object movement, manipulation, animation, objects stacked or arranged, objects found unusually hot or warm to the touch, physical forming such as oil, blood, tar or water, disembodied voices or imitative sounds, electrical or mechanical interference, audible communication, objects found that do not belong, objects that go missing and turn up in odd places, plants uprooted, disturbed or die, doors and windows open or closed, pets are annoyed or upset, sudden increase in electricity bills, regular faulty appliances, items unscrewed, dirt or excrement found, strange drawings, writings, paintings or pictures found. Poltergeist activity level 3. Disturbances such as manifestations, apparitions, and amorphous shapes of light. Poltergeist activity level 4. Disturbances such as physical interaction. Poltergeist activity level 5. Disturbances such as the feeling of sexual interaction and pressure on the chest or head whilst resting. Sometimes paralysis is reported. This is usually known as the incubus or succubus stage. Incubus and succubus activity are said to be male or female demonic spirits. However, this is only speculation. Incubus activity involves females being sexually touched or attacked. In cases of males, this is known as succubus activity. It has been noted that these attacks can take place anywhere and at any time, leaving the victims somewhat helpless. It is a well-documented phenomenon that was depicted in the 1970s film The Entity.
I've always believed that there were several planes of existence, and we as human beings inhabit only one.
What happened to you guys last night anyway?
I was attacked.
Is this the first time something like this has ever happened?
No. Things have come to me. In the night. Why do I see and feel these things?
Some things are more terrible than other things. And he felt like a man?
Big man. But when my son came in, there was nobody there. He evaporated.
That's classic poltergeist activity.
You know, there was a time when people believed in the supernatural. These ghosts and demons were only ideas, but people saw them.
You think I'm insane?
First, we have to find out what the problem
In
is.
the meantime, I'll be dead. He's stronger than you are. He'll kill me if he has to.
Isn't it possible that some entity has crossed into our plane of existence?
There was somebody there. I couldn't see him with my eyes, but there was somebody there.
He's in the room!
Will you appear to us now?
It's my decision
What, to stay sick?
to stay alive.
In some circumstances, the victim may even go through a series of phantom pregnancies. It is written in old folklore books regarding King Arthur that these entities are fallen angels, and a union with one was once thought to produce demons and witches. If one is to believe in such legends, Merlin the wizard was said to have been the offspring of such a union. However, legends often prove to be nothing more than just made-up stories. The word incubus is Latin and means male nightmare. There seems to be no reason why such incidents take place and no form of pattern. Most attacks are on individuals who have a strong religious belief, however this is not always the case. As you may probably guess, investigating such claims can be difficult. The one thing that does stand out is that all other forms of poltergeist activity can take place simultaneously, indicating a possible connection to infestations. Physical marks have also allegedly been witnessed as part of the so-called after effect of such an attack. When investigating, blanket monitoring may come in useful. Poltergeist activity level 6. Disturbances such as possessive activity, behavioural disorder, possession or altered character. Sometimes the phenomenon may never reach a high classification. If you haven't already watched them, check out the first 2 videos in this series. Procedures and techniques of investigating witnesses, claims of anomalous phenomena, and investigating the haunting phenomena. Still to come in this series, investigating supernatural phenomena, investigating anomalies, investigating UFOs. To keep yourself up to date with videos in this series and our other paranormal videos, don't forget to hit the like and follow button below.